The entire Galactic Confederation erupted into chaos after human student Logan Harris gave the most shocking speech ever heard at the Earth Diplomatic Conference, leaving the scaly TAC delegation slack-jawed and wide-eyed. It was a moment that would live in infamy, senior TAC diplomat Yaris recounted, to an auditorium of fidgeting reptilian students, his tongue flicking in and out as he spoke. Back then, we hardly knew anything about Earth's dominant species. All the reports indicated they were a barbaric, warlike race that nuked their own cities and butchered each other by the millions over trivial disagreements about economic systems or imaginary deities. The Galactic Confederation had serious doubts about ever welcoming humans to the intergalactic community. Yaris blinked his nictitating membranes as he recalled the tense conference. Dozens of alien races had dispatched emissaries to the blue-green planet, invited by Earth's fledgling world government. Yaris himself led the TAC representatives, tasked with assessing whether humans deserved membership in the Confederation. The stakes couldn't be higher. A positive outcome meant new realms of trade and cooperation between planets, but a negative decision would see humanity quarantined on their isolated rock, forever cut off from the stars under a permanent embargo enacted by the disgusted galactic community. As Yaris slithered into the conference hall behind his TAC compatriots, he noted the human ambassador's curious appearance. No scales, tails, or snouts, just flabby exposed skin in shades of brown and pink, with patchy coats of fur atop their heads and occasionally on their faces. They jabbered incessantly in a multitude of frequencies, often talking over one another. Several bared their square teeth in a gesture called a smile that looked more like a threat display. But nothing could prepare Yaris for the ludicrous, shocking speech that was about to burst from the mouth of a certain unassuming human student named Logan Harris. A speech that would upend the very foundations of the Galactic Confederation. The entire auditorium, full of young TAC, hung onto Yaris's every word, utterly captivated by the tale. An ambitious human student taking the podium at a pivotal intergalactic conference. It was unheard of. Yaris continued his account. This young man, Logan Harris, couldn't have been more than 20 Earth years old, a mere hatchling in TAC terms. He strode up to the center of the stage, daring to stand where leaders of advanced spacefaring civilizations had spoken. We were ready to dismiss his words before he even opened his mouth. The old TAC shook his head, remembering his own preconceptions. What could this child possibly have to say that would be of any relevance? We assumed he'd make some naive, idealistic speech about galactic peace and cooperation, or ramble incoherently about his planet's primitive politics. But as he reached the podium, I noticed an intensity burning in his eyes that gave me pause. Logan gripped the sides of the podium, staring out at the assembled alien delegates. Rather than launching into flowery idealism, he began by directly addressing the elephant in the room. "I know what you're all thinking," he said bluntly, "that humans are a violent, aggressive species unfit for galactic citizenship. And you're not entirely wrong. Our history is soaked in blood, pockmarked by countless atrocities committed against our own kind. We've made grave mistakes fueled by greed, fear, and ignorance." Surprised murmurs rippled through the audience. This human was actually acknowledging his own species' flaws. The assembled delegates leaned forward, their interest piqued. "But consider the environment that forged us," Logan continued. "Homo sapiens evolved on a planet rife with challenges, vicious predators, scarce resources, harsh climates. Every day was a battle for survival. Those conditions bred in us certain instincts and traits: aggression, cunning, relentless determination, and most importantly, adaptability." Yaris watched the young man with rapt attention, his reptilian eyes unblinking. Where was this going? Around him, the other delegates seemed equally engrossed, all thoughts of dismissing the speech forgotten. "Yes, those qualities led us down some dark paths," Logan admitted, "but they've also enabled us to overcome tremendous obstacles, to innovate, to explore, to bend our environment to our will. And now, as we stand on the threshold of joining the galactic community, I believe those same human traits can be a strength rather than a liability." The human's words hung in the air as he paused for effect. Despite himself, Yaris felt a grudging respect for the audacity of this youth, daring to reframe his species' fundamental nature in front of all these eminent dignitaries. This Logan Harris certainly had guts, if nothing else. Yaris's eyes widened as the human's speech took an unexpected turn. Logan began discussing a concept utterly foreign to the tuk-tuk: empathy. "I want to share a personal story," Logan said, his voice wavering slightly. "My younger sister was born with a rare genetic disorder that left her physically and mentally disabled. She required constant care and support, and my family, we rallied around her. We provided the love and assistance she needed, not out of obligation, but out of genuine compassion." The auditorium was silent, the alien delegates hanging on Logan's every word. Yaris leaned forward, his scales rippling with surprise. This capacity for empathy, for putting ourselves in another's shoes and understanding their struggles, it's not unique to my family. It's a fundamental part of who we are as humans. Throughout our history, in times of crisis and hardship, we have come together to support one another. Logan proceeded to list examples: communities banding together after natural disasters, nations sending aid to regions struck by famine or disease, individuals donating time and resources to help the less fortunate. Yaris's tongue flicked out thoughtfully. Empathy, compassion. These were not traits typically associated with a barbaric race. In fact, such qualities were rare, even among the enlightened species of the Galactic Confederation. "Now imagine," Logan continued, "if we could apply that same empathy on a galactic scale. What if Earth could serve as a neutral ground for diplomatic negotiations? Human mediators, with our unique understanding of conflict and cooperation, could help bridge the gaps between disparate alien cultures." Excited murmurs rose from the audience as the implications sank in. Yaris himself could barely contain his astonishment. A species that fought with itself, yet also possessed the ability to understand and reconcile differences? Our history of overcoming challenges, of rising above adversity, that's not a bug but a feature, Logan declared. And it's an experience we can share with other species facing their own struggles. We're not perfect, but we are resilient. Let us be a source of inspiration and support, not fear and mistrust. As the human stepped back from the podium, a hush fell over the room. Then, slowly at first but with growing enthusiasm, the delegates began to applaud. Yaris sat back, his mind reeling. Around him, the other diplomats chattered excitedly, their preconceptions about humanity clearly shaken. The young tuk-tuk students listened with rapt attention, absorbing this incredible turn of events. "In that moment," Yaris said softly, "everything changed. The very foundation of what we thought we knew about humans, about their role in the galaxy, it all shifted. And it was all thanks to the words of a single, remarkable youth named Logan Harris." As the last echoes of Logan's speech faded, the conference hall erupted into a cacophony of clicks, hisses, and guttural exclamations. The once orderly gathering devolved into a heated debate, with delegates gesticulating wildly as they argued back and forth. The Zorgon ambassador Zorax rose to his feet, his tentacles writhing in agitation, Yaris recounted. He pointed an accusing appendage at Logan and declared, "The human speaks of empathy and compassion, yet his own species has a history of violence and conflict. How can we trust them to mediate our disputes when they cannot even maintain peace among themselves?" Murmurs of agreement rippled through the audience, particularly from the Cliquot delegation, known for their warlike tendencies. Yaris watched as Logan stood his ground, his posture straight and his gaze unwavering. Logan countered Zorax's argument, his voice steady and confident. Yaris continued, "Ambassador Zorax, I acknowledge our past mistakes and the challenges we still face. But I believe that our struggles have given us a unique perspective on conflict resolution. We have learned from our failures and are committed to building a better future, not just for ourselves, but for the entire galactic community." The human's words seemed to give some delegates pause, but the skepticism remained palpable. Logan, undeterred, pressed on. I propose a series of cultural exchange programs where representatives from various alien races would live among humans for an extended period, Logan suggested, his eyes scanning the room. These programs would provide an opportunity for our galactic neighbors to experience human empathy and compassion firsthand, while also allowing us to learn from and appreciate the rich diversity of life beyond our world. Yaris felt a stirring of excitement at the prospect. As a historian, he recognized the potential for such exchanges to foster understanding and build bridges between cultures. He raised his own voice in support of Logan's proposal. The Tak-Tak would be honored to participate in such a program, Yaris declared, his tongue flicking out to taste the charged atmosphere. Our people are known for our scientific curiosity and open-mindedness. We believe that learning from one another is the key to progress and harmony. The debate raged on, with delegates from various factions expressing their opinions. Some, like the Galactic Traders Guild representative, saw the potential for expanded commerce and cultural exchange. Others, like the Cliquot warlord, remained deeply suspicious of humanity's motives. As the conference stretched into its final hours, no definitive resolution had been reached. The delegates, exhausted from the intense discussions, began to disperse, each returning to their own ships and worlds. But Yaris knew that something profound had shifted. Logan's speech and proposal had planted a seed, challenging long-held assumptions about humanity's role in the galaxy. The young Tak-Tak students, their eyes wide with wonder, peppered Yaris with questions about the historic event. "The conference may have ended without a clear decision," Yaris said, his voice tinged with a mix of exhaustion and excitement. But the impact of Logan's words could not be denied. The human had sparked a conversation that would reverberate across the stars, forcing us all to reconsider our preconceptions and imagine a future where empathy and understanding could bridge the vast gulfs between our worlds. Yaris's voice grew heavy as he revealed the next chapter in the saga of human-alien relations. Logan's vision, it seemed, was on the cusp of realization. The cultural exchange program he proposed was implemented, and my own people, the Tak-Tak, were among the first to participate. Our scientists, eager to learn and share knowledge, journeyed to Earth with open minds and hearts. The elderly Tak-Tak paused, his eyes distant as if reliving a painful memory. But tragedy struck, shattering the fragile trust that had begun to grow. During their visit to a major human city, our scientists found themselves caught in the crossfire of a terrorist attack. 3 of our own were killed, their lives cut short by the very violence and discord we had hoped to overcome. Several others suffered grievous injuries, their blood staining the streets of a world we had dared to believe could be a beacon of hope. The auditorium was silent, the weight of Yaris's words hanging heavy in the air. The students, their eyes wide and scales rippling with emotion, leaned forward, hanging on every word. The incident sent shockwaves through the galactic community, Yaris continued, his voice barely above a whisper. Many races, including our own, began to question once again whether humanity was truly ready for the responsibilities of intergalactic cooperation. How could we trust a species that could not even protect our own from harm on their own soil? Yaris described how Earth's government, desperate to salvage the situation, offered compensation to the families of the fallen Tak-Tak and vowed to bring the terrorists to justice. But the damage had been done, he said, shaking his head. The cultural exchange program, once a symbol of hope and progress, was suspended indefinitely. The bridges we had begun to build crumbled, the wounds too deep to heal with mere words or gestures. The old Tak-Tak's voice softened as he spoke of Logan, the young human who had dared to dream of a united galaxy. He was devastated by the turn of events, the weight of the tragedy bearing down on his shoulders. But rather than succumbing to despair, Logan became a tireless advocate for peace and understanding between our worlds. He dedicated his life to bridging the divide, to healing the wounds that had been inflicted. Yaris sighed, his tail twitching with a mix of admiration and sorrow. But progress was slow, the scars of the incident running deep. The attack remained a painful reminder of the challenges we faced in building trust between our species. Even now, decades later, the path ahead remains uncertain. As Yaris concluded his tale, the students sat in stunned silence, their minds grappling with the complexities of intergalactic relations. They had grown up in a galaxy still shaped by the events Yaris described, a galaxy where the promise of unity and cooperation remained elusive. "And so, my young ones," Yaris said, his voice barely above a whisper, "the future of our species, of the entire galactic community, rests in your hands. The choices you make, the bridges you build or burn, will determine whether Logan's vision of a united galaxy will ever be realized, or if the differences between us will ultimately prove too great to overcome." As the students began to file out of the auditorium, their whispers and murmurs filling the air, Yaris remained seated, his mind lost in thought. He couldn't help but wonder what the future held, if the seeds of hope and understanding that Logan had planted so long ago would ever bear fruit. The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: the destiny of the galaxy would be shaped by the actions and choices of the generations to come. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.